Please help your siblings. They are struggling.
Mama, I don't know those people. They are strangers to me.
They are your blood!
Mama, if you ask me one more time to help them, I will scream. To me, they don't exist.
The plate trembled in Barry's hand. For a moment, the room fell silent, except for the ticking of the old wall clock. Her mother didn't raise her voice. She never did. Instead, she looked at Barry with the tired eyes of a woman who had buried 3 decades of pain beneath quiet smiles. Then she spoke. You don't know the whole story, my daughter.
And by the time
you do,
you may not like the person you've become.
Barry forced a smile, but it never reached her eyes. That night, Barry barely slept. She didn't know those words were about to unravel everything she believed about her family and forced her to confess a secret she had carried alone for years. Stay with me until the end, because this story reveals how some of our parents' choices may shape our lives without us even realizing. This is Barry's story. People noticed Barry long before they met her. She carried herself with a quiet confidence that often made strangers assume that life had always been kind to her. They were wrong. If anyone had looked beyond her smile, they would have seen someone who barely allowed herself to rest. Work became her hiding place. Whenever life felt heavy, Barry buried herself in projects, deadlines, and overtimes. It was easier to solve problems in an office than to face the ones waiting at home. Her friends teased her constantly. Barry, one day, your laptop will marry you. She would laugh with them. But deep inside, she wondered if staying busy was the safest way to avoid getting hurt. People judged her because of her beauty. Men said she was proud. They assumed life had been handed to her. But Barry had learned something years ago. People often judge the cover of a book they never bothered to read. She wasn't avoiding relationships because she hated love. She was avoiding something she couldn't even explain. Every time a man got too close, something inside her quietly whispered, "Run!" She never understood why. Not yet. The answer had been living inside her home all along, a wound she picked up without even knowing. Barry was the first child. There were 15 years between her and her younger brother, a gap that always made her wonder why her parents had waited so long to have another child. Growing up, one thing puzzled her more than anything. Her mother was brilliant. She calculated figures in seconds. She spoke excellent English. She remembered almost everything she read. Yet, she spent her days running a small provision shop from morning until night. Whenever Barry asked about her mother's younger days, the answers were always short. Those days are gone. Nothing more. One Christmas, an elderly aunt visited from the village. As adults laughed over dinner, the conversation drifted to childhood memories. Without thinking, the aunt smiled and said, "Your mother, everybody believed she would become a doctor. She was always first in class." The room became quiet. Barry looked up. Her mother lowered her eyes. The aunt immediately realized she had said too much. Anyway, she quickly changed the subject. But Barry couldn't. That single sentence refused to leave her mind. Months turned into years. Little by little, pieces of the story found their way to her. A relative would mention something. An old neighbor would accidentally reveal another piece. Eventually, Barry understood what had happened. At 17, her mother had become pregnant. Her grandparents were respected church elders. The shame was too much for the family. Within a few months, marriage was arranged. Her mother's dream of studying medicine disappeared almost overnight. Her books were packed away before she even turned 18. Bella spent weeks carrying one painful thought. I was that baby. For the first time in her life, she looked at her mother differently. Every sacrifice, every missed opportunity, every dream left unfinished. Sadness hidden behind smiles. Barry blamed herself for all of it. She never asked her mother if it was true. Some questions felt too painful to hear answers. What Berry didn't know was that this wasn't the family secret that would shape the rest of her life. Not even close. Money was never enough in Berry's home. Her father had a stable job, yet somehow every school fee, every medical bill, every family emergency always seemed to fall on her mother's shoulders. Berry noticed. She simply chose not to ask questions, but the rumors made everything worse. Berry, your father has another family. Berry, my mom said your father's children go to expensive schools. Berry, your father this. Berry, your father that. Until one day, she summoned the courage to ask her mother, Mama, people are saying Papa has another family. Her mother's eyes widened, mouth open in shock. Slap! Don't ever mention that again. Are you monitoring your father? Young lady, face your books and stop discussing nonsense. Berry lowered her head in shame, faced her books, and never spoke or encouraged discussions about her father again until her second year in the university. A new student joined their department. She looked strangely familiar. Then, Berry noticed something else. The girl shared the same surname as her father. She dismissed it. After all, many families shared surnames. A week later, Berry was walking back from class when a familiar car stopped outside the girl's hostel. She froze. Her father stepped out. He smiled. A smile Berry couldn't remember ever seeing at home. He hugged the young woman warmly, placed money into her hand, said something that made her laugh, then gently touched her head before driving away. Bella stood hidden behind a concrete pillar, unable to move, unable to think, unable to breathe. That afternoon, she told herself there had to be an explanation. There had to be. She just didn't know. And 2 weeks later, she would accidentally hear the conversation that destroyed every explanation she had tried so desperately to believe. 2 weeks later, Berry's semester examinations ended earlier than expected. She smiled all the way to the bus station. Mama will be so happy to see me. She bought a loaf of bread from her mother's favorite bakery and boarded the next bus home without calling anyone. She wanted it to be a surprise. By the time she reached the compound, the afternoon sun was beginning to fade. The gate was slightly open. Berry smiled. Mama must be in the shop. As she walked towards the front door, voices drifted through the sitting room window. She recognized her mother's voice immediately. It was trembling, not with fear, with disappointment. That money was for the children's school fees. You took it again. Silence. Then her father's voice answered, calm, cold, almost irritated. I told you not to question me. Her mother refused to back down. Our son will be sent home from school. Berry still has expenses at the university. How do you expect us to survive? Another pause. Then came the sentence Berry would never forget. Ah, woman, you irritate me. You already know the truth. I never married you because I loved you. Berry froze where she stood. I married you because you were pregnant. The loaf of bread slipped from her fingers. Inside the house, her father continued. If that pregnancy had never happened, I would have married the woman I actually wanted. So stop asking me why I take care of my other family. The only family I was supposed to be with, if not for that stupid pregnancy. Berry covered her mouth to stop herself from crying out. Every word landed like a stone. She waited, hoping her mother would scream, hoping she would slap him, hoping she would say something. Instead, there was only silence. Long, heavy, painful silence. Berry slowly bent down, picked up the loaf of bread, turned around and walked back towards the road. She never went inside. She never told her mother she had come home that day. And for years, she carried those words alone. And somehow, she blamed herself for everything. If I wasn't born, Mom would have had a better life. If I wasn't born, Mom would have followed her dreams. Maybe, just maybe, she would have married someone better. From that day forward, something inside Berries quietly changed. She still visited home. She still greeted her father respectfully because that was what a daughter was expected to do. But her heart had already stepped away from him. He became a stranger she happened to share a surname with. The deeper wound, however, was one Berry didn't even recognize. Whenever a man showed genuine interest in her, she found a reason to leave. Too confident, too quiet, too friendly, too serious. No one ever seemed right. She convinced herself she was simply being careful. In truth, she was protecting herself from a pain she had never healed from. Whenever life became emotionally overwhelming, Berry did what she always did. She worked. Long hours, extra projects, weekend meetings, anything to avoid sitting alone with her thoughts. Her friends often laugh. "Berry, you're hiding inside your office." She laughed with them, but deep down, they were right. Then Daniel came into her life. They met during a leadership conference organized by both their companies. Unlike everyone else, Daniel didn't begin the conversation by complimenting Berry's beauty. Instead, he noticed the notebook in her hand. "You still take handwritten notes?" he asked with a smile. Berry looked up. "I remember things better that way." "Me too," he replied. For the next hour, they spoke about books, work, family, dreams. Not once did Daniel try to impress her. Not once did he flirt. When the conference ended, he simply smiled. "I would like to know you better, Berry. No pressure, just coffee whenever you're ready." She surprised herself by saying yes. 3 days followed. Simple conversation, quiet laughter, comfortable silence. For the first time in years, Berry almost forgot to be afraid. Then one evening, Daniel reached across the table and gently held her hand. Berry immediately pulled away. The fear returned without warning. She stood up so quickly that her chair nearly fell. "I'm sorry, I can't do this." Daniel didn't try to stop her. He simply nodded. Then, before she walked away, he quietly said, "Berry, whatever hurts you, it wasn't me." She stopped walking. For a second, she almost turned back, but the walls around her heart were stronger than her courage. She left. Daniel never called again. Not because he didn't care, because he respected the answer she hadn't been able to explain. Several weeks later, Berry returned home for the weekend. Dinner was usually quiet. Halfway through the meal, her mother looked at her. "Berry, if I ask you to help your father's other children, will you?" Berry slowly placed her spoon on the table. "Help who? People I don't know? To me, they don't exist. Mama, please, don't ask me that again." Her mother sighed. Life has not been easy to them. They are struggling. They are innocent. Berry's voice rose for the first time. "And what about you? What about everything you've sacrificed? Haven't you suffered enough?" Her mother looked at her for a long moment. Then she softly asked, "My daughter, why so much anger? Why does this pain sound older than today?" Berry looked away. She couldn't answer. Her mother stood up. Then she spoke the words Berry would remember for the rest of her life. "You don't know the whole story, my daughter. And by the time you do, you may not like the person you've become." Berry slowly lifted her head, tears already gathering in her eyes. "Then tell me, Mama." Her mother took a deep breath. For the first time in 30 years, she was ready to open the door she had kept locked, and Berry was finally ready to tell the secret she had buried for years. Her mother folded her hands on the table. For a few moments, she simply stared at them, as though gathering the courage to reopen wounds that had never truly healed. Finally, she spoke. "I was 17, Berry. I was the best student in my class. Every teacher believed I would become a doctor. I believed it too. Then, I became pregnant with you." Berry lowered her eyes. "Within a few months, I became a wife. Instead of a student, my books were packed away before I turned 18. I never entered another classroom again. Silence filled the room. Berry swallowed hard. Mama, I've known that part of your story for years. Her mother looked up in surprise. You know? Berry nodded. An aunt told me when I was younger. I believed that if I spoke the words aloud, they would become real. Tears filled her eyes. I spent years believing I destroyed your future simply by being born. Her mother held both of Berry's hands. Listen to me carefully. Her mother whispered, you did not ruin my life. Adults made decisions. You were a child who had no choice. Never carry the blame that belongs to grown people. Berry broke into tears. Mama, there is something you don't know either. Her voice trembled. Some years ago, my exams ended early. I came home to surprise you. Her mother's eyes widened. I never entered the house. Berry's breathing became uneven. I heard everything, every word. I heard Papa tell you he never loved you. I heard him say he only married you because you were pregnant. I heard him say if it wasn't for me, he would have married someone else. He would have been with his other family. The room became completely still. Her mother covered her mouth. Berry continued through tears. I've carried those words alone for years. I stopped trusting men because I was terrified of becoming you. Every time someone cared about me, I ran. I wasn't running from them. I was running from a future I believed was waiting for me. Her mother's tears finally fell. Not from shame, but from the heartbreaking realization that while she had hidden her own pain to protect her daughter had been suffering in silence all along. My child, you've been carrying a burden I didn't even know you picked up. After a long silence, Berry finally asked the question she had carried for years. Mama, why did you stay? Her mother looked towards the window before answering. Because life was different then. Living wasn't as simple as packing a bag. A young woman with no education, no income, and a child in her arms had very little places to go. People often think staying means weakness. Sometimes it simply means survival. She gently wiped Berry's eyes. I stayed because I refused to let bitterness raise my children. I walked. I prayed. I saved every little coin I could. Not because your father deserved my strength, but because you did. Berry cried even harder. Her mother held her face. But hear me now, Berry. My story is not your story. Do not inherit my fears. Do not inherit my pain. Do not reject happiness because of someone else's failures. If a good man stands before you, judge him by his own character, not by the shadow of your father. Berry immediately thought of Daniel, his patience, his kindness, his final words. Whatever hurt you, it wasn't me. For the first time, she understood what he meant. A week later, Berry's phone rang. It was her father. He sounded uncomfortable. Business had failed. His health was bad. He needed help paying school fees for the children in his second home. She asked for his address. That afternoon, she drove there. Her father looked surprised to see her standing at his gate. Neither of them spoke for several moments. Then, Berry broke the silence. Papa, years ago, I came home early. I stood outside the sitting room window. I heard everything you said to Mama. He lowered his eyes. Berry continued. For years, I've carried your words like chains. I've blamed myself for Mama's pain. I've pushed good people away because I believed every man would become you. Her father's lips trembled. After a long silence, he finally spoke. There isn't a single day I haven't regretted saying those words. They were spoken in anger. That doesn't excuse them. I failed your mother. He paused, then looked at Berry. And I failed you too. Berry felt tears filling her eyes. but some wounds heal without disappearing. She took a slow breath. I'm not here because I need an apology. I'm here because I'm finally putting those words down. She reached into her handbag, placed an envelope on the table. I will help with the children's school fees. Her father looked up in surprise. Berry smiled sadly. Not because you asked. Not because I owe you. I'm helping because children should never pay for the mistakes of adults. She turned to leave. Behind her, she heard her father quietly crying. She didn't look back. Some endings don't need another conversation. That evening, Berry sat alone in her apartment. She picked up her phone. After staring at the screen for nearly 5 minutes, she finally called Daniel. When he answered, neither of them spoke for a few seconds. Then Berry smiled. You once told me that whatever hurt me wasn't you. Daniel laughed softly. I remember. Berry wiped away a tear. I think I'm finally ready to believe you. There was a long silence. Then Daniel answered with the gentleness she had always admired. Would you like to start again? Berry smiled. For the first time in years, she answered without fear. Yes. Sometimes, the heaviest burden we carry were never ours to carry at all. We blame ourselves for choices we never made. We inherit fears that were never meant to become our future. But healing begins the moment we chose to stop living inside someone else's pain. A broken beginning does not have to become a broken ending, and neither does yours. And remember, your parents' past may shape your story, but it never has to write your ending. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this amazing story. As always, let's triumph together.